You are now listening to TheGrio's Black Podcast Network, Black Culture Amplified.
Now, what do Republicans want? You know, if you listen to Republicans, they'll tell you that they want, a good Christian leader. They want to protect life. They want small government. They want someone who isn't a liar. They want a leader who extols family values. And that's why I want to welcome you to TheGrio Daily. The only podcast that'll tell you what Republicans really want is Democrats. I'm world-famous white peopleologist Michael Harriot, and this is TheGrio Daily. I know most of us believe that Republicans don't actually believe anything, and that's kind of true, right? Like they say they want Christian leaders, and they say that they are Christian evangelicals, and then they elect a lying cheater, criminal as president. They say that they believe in family values, except when they separate children at the border, except when they out gays in high school and middle schools, except when they do the stuff that is anti-Christian. They'll tell you that they don't even like politics. They want people who are real leaders, who are truthful. And then they keep electing liars. And so today we're going to look at, some of the people who should be candidates for the Republican Party if the Republican Party really believed what they believed. Like, I live in Georgia. So let's start with Georgia, right? Like for governor, right? Brian Kemp is a person who is known as the Wizard of Voter Suppression, right? And of course, we know that, Trump called the governor and the Secretary of State here, Raffensperger, and tried to tell them to find him about 11,000 votes.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
What Republicans hate is voter fraud. What Republicans hate is stolen election. What they want is ballot security. At least that's what they want in Georgia, right? So who could they find to give them some good ballot security? Well, there is this woman, a black woman, right, who has been fighting against voter suppression and the right to allow people who are legally registered to vote for years, right? Her name is Stacey Abrams. And the interesting thing about Stacey Abrams is Stacey Abrams is really not against stuff like voter ID, right? The reason people are against voter ID is because studies and courts have determined that the problem with voter ID is that when you are black or you are poor, sometimes voter ID is unattainable because of the cost, and not just the cost of an ID, right? But the cost of getting to a place to get a voter ID. So to get my Georgia's driver's license when I moved here, I had to drive about 20 miles. So I needed a car. Right? I live in a rural place or a town that's about 80% black. So all of the black people here would have to have a car or know someone who has a car to get a voter ID or any kind of ID. And that sounds simple to a lot of people, but believe me, when you live in poverty, a lot of times it's not that simple because, again, you have to think about the logistics, right? So the voter ID place or the driver's license place is about 15 miles from here, and it's only opened on certain days, 8 to 5. So you have to find, not only do you have to find a ride, but you got to find someone who is not working during the hours that this place is open, who won't charge you gas money and can provide you a place, could provide you a ride so that you can pay for your voter ID. So it's not just the cost prohibitive measurement of getting the ID, but the logistics of doing that, right? And a lot of people don't understand if you live in a place like DC or if you live in a city at all, right? Like a lot of rural America don't have access to a place to get an ID. My mother didn't have an ID for a long time during my youth just because there was no driver's license place in the town I lived in South Carolina, right? It was a couple of towns over. You needed a ride. You needed a ride that could take you when it was open. And then because it was the only place that gave IDs, it was always crowded. Like you basically had to spend an entire day there. You had to block out an entire day to go get your ID. And what Stacey Abrams did is say, I'm not against voter ID if we could make them free and we could get people to the place where they can get an ID. And that's what she did. And she didn't tell the government to do it because, like what Republicans want, she said, why don't we just do it with the community effort? That's what the Georgia Voters Project was, right? They allowed people to not just to register to vote, but to get the things that they need to vote, your ID. And often to get an ID, you need your social security card, your birth certificate. Again, you got to go to the county courthouse or wherever your birth certificate is filed, which is a problem in many places like where I grew up. I got an old copy of my birth certificate because it's just, my mother doesn't live in that town anymore. So I would have to call up someone who isn't in my family and figure out how I could ask them to go to that county courthouse where I was born to get my voter ID. Not only is it cost prohibitive, but it's hard to do. But there was a woman who embodies all these Republican ideals. She wants ballot security. She doesn't depend on the government. Or there's another candidate for Georgia senator, right, who embodies a lot of the Republican ideals too, right? Like if you are an evangelical Christian, what's better than a dude like Raphael Warnock, who is a pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, the church that Martin Luther King preached at, right? Like he is the inheritor of that legacy. All those people who claim to believe in the ideals of Martin Luther King, wouldn't they want a Christian who believed in equality? Wouldn't they want someone who grew up poor, who worked on a farm, whose parents worked on a farm? Well, that's Raphael Warnock. Raphael Warnock worked his way through school to achieve his education. Because you know what Republicans want, right? They say that Black people need to focus on education and hard work. What embodies that more than the Black dude who worked his way through college, an HBCU, even if you believe in segregation, as a lot of Republicans do. This dude went to a HBCU. He segregated himself. And then he went to divinity school and got his PhD and worked his way through it. He embodies all of those ideals. Why wouldn't you vote for him? Or let's take Florida, for instance, right? Like Florida, when you're talking about the Senate race there, you want to talk about somebody who values education, who values, what people in Florida and Republicans want, right? They want law and order. Well, wait, there's a candidate who is actually a police officer and a police chief. So she probably values law and order. Her name is Val Demings. And she's running against Marco Rubio, who embodies, nothing. So if Republicans really believe the things that they say, wouldn't they vote for someone who's a police chief, someone who believes in holding people accountable, someone like Val Demings? I wonder why they don't. Oh, Valdemars is black. Oh yeah. Okay, so let's forget that one. Let's go to another state, right? Let's go. Let's go to. Oh, how about Pennsylvania, right? Like, there's a dude in Pennsylvania. Wait. So Dr. Oz, he's running for office in Pennsylvania, but like he's not from there. In Pennsylvania, people want someone who represents their interests, so they probably wouldn't vote for him, right? And he's like a rich dude with a bunch of houses. And so Republicans paint themselves as the party of the common man, so they probably wouldn't want him. So why wouldn't they vote for Dr. Oz's opponent? If they believed in what they were saying, they would vote for him. Or like in Texas, right? Why would they vote for someone like Greg Abbott, right? Who is a proven liar, right? Why wouldn't they vote for someone like Beto O'Rourke, who came up in Texas, who was born and raised in Texas? Why wouldn't they vote for someone who wants to protect their right to life? Well, it's not that Beto O'Rourke is anti-abortion. Beto O'Rourke is against the law that criminalizes people, because Texas has this bounty law, if you didn't know, that allows like me to sue anyone if I hear they got an abortion, right? Like I can collect a bounty if I turn in someone or sue them for getting an abortion. And that's kind of like government intruding on your life, right? That's like putting the government literally inside women's vaginas. So if they believed in small government, wouldn't they vote for someone who opposed that law? If they believed in the right to life, wouldn't they vote for someone who didn't preside over one of the worst COVID epidemics in the country? If they really believed in the right to life, wouldn't they oppose someone who supports the death penalty? If you were a Republican in Texas, you would probably vote for Beto O'Rourke, unless all that stuff you said you believed wasn't true. Unless you were never about Christian conservatism, because your last president didn't embody any Christian ideals, unless you knew that every Republican president increases the debt more so than Democratic presidents, unless you weren't a believer in fiscal responsibility and spent money on stupid stuff like building a wall and literally trying to put a moat around the border, unless you weren't really a believer in family values and wanted to separate children at the border, and you wanted to condemn LGBTQ children for loving who they wanted to love, unless you wanted to condemn trans children, then you couldn't say you believed in family values. Because if you were a real Republican, you would stand against all of the policies that they stand for. You would stand against the don't say gay laws because you believed in family values. You would stand against everything that they do because they literally embody the opposite of all of the 10 commandments. They kill with the death penalty. They steal, Brett Favre. They bear false witness against their neighbor. Literally, all of them lie. They don't honor the Sabbath, which is when they hold those racist Republican Trump rallies. They literally break every commandment with their policies. So it's obvious that what Republicans, a true Republican, really would want is someone who believed that people could love whoever they love, who believe that people should be able to marry whoever they marry, who believe that the government should stay out of women's vaginas, who believed in small government and taxing corporations because that is fiscal conservatism. That is preserving the wealth. If you were a Republican, you would really vote for Democrats. And that's why there are no such thing as Republicans. They're just racist with the political party. And that's why you gotta download the TheGrio app. You gotta tell a friend about this podcast. And you gotta subscribe on every platform. And that's also why we leave you every episode with the saying from Black America. And today's saying is, a Republican ain't nothing but a racist without their hood on. If you liked what you heard, please give us a 5-star review, download the TheGrio app, subscribe to the show, and share it with everyone you know. Please email all questions, suggestions, and compliments to podcasts@thegrio.com.
You are now listening to TheGrio's Black Podcast Network, Black Culture Amplified.